Hi, my name is Judelki Escorbodes. I am a nutritionist, health and wellness coach, and founder of Yesko Wellness, a health coaching practice based in Munich, Germany. Today, I have somebody who I admire for her courage, not only to fight against a diagnosis of prediabetes, but also to have won the battle and to be brave enough to share her story here with us so that we can learn from her experience and hopefully make the right choices if ever confronted with such problem. Her name is Kaarin Varon, and I would like to introduce her. Hello, Kaarin.
Hi, Yudoki. How are you? So nice to see you.
Nice to see you too. So, can you please tell me a little bit about yourself? Tell me a little bit about your background.
Of course. So I'm a Latina, Colombian, born and raised, very busy professional, and a mother of two wonderful kids, 2 and 8. I live with my family. I have a very, very strong tied culture and tradition to Latin American history and heritage, and I work in philanthropy in the field of health.
Great, thank you, Kaarin. So tell me something. When did you find out that you were pre-diabetic?
Yeah, it was a really, really strange way of coming to the diagnosis, I have to say. I had been feeling some symptoms that were kind of worrying. I wasn't necessarily paying too much attention because they were symptoms that were somewhat invisible. That's why diabetes is called a silent killer. Things like excessive thirst, very tired, a little bit of a vision issue, blurry vision. And I associated all of these things to something else, like blurry vision, I'm getting older, tired, of course, I have 2 kids, thirsty, well, you know, anybody can get thirsty. I was peeing a lot. And then it came around to the time of me getting a physical. And when I went to the doctor, he was just going to run a normal panel of blood work. Blood sugar is normally not one of those things that is checked regularly by doctors. So I knew that for a fact from working in health, and I specifically requested for a blood sugar test because there's a family history, both in my family and my husband's family, of diabetes. And I wanted to just, you know, kind of get a sense as to how I was doing. That happened about in January of 2017. And a couple of weeks later, I got a call from my nurse stating that my doctor wanted to come and see me. So I kind of knew that the results that had come out were probably not good because a doctor normally doesn't want to see you to discuss test results. But I was not anticipating the devastating news that I got. He basically told me, look, you are, your sugar levels are way too high. They're as high that I will want to put you on metformin or some kind of medication to bring them to control. You're a couple of, you know, blood levels, sugar levels from a full diagnosis, and you need to shift completely how you're eating and your lifestyle to try to get this under control. And I didn't know. I wasn't feeling like, oh, medication, why? Like, it, you know, is there a way that I can control this myself? I was asking him questions about, well, how can I get better? And he gave me a very kind of blank and very unuseful advice of, yeah, just eat more chicken, not too much, lots of vegetables, and that was it. And that's how I found out.
Right, right. Doctors are trained, actually, they're trained to treat the symptoms from patients, right? They're trained to give you medication so that you can deal with the so they're not really trained on lifestyle, and that's actually the beginning of the problem. And I think that that's going to be changing in the future. So do tell me something. What went through your head? So the moment that you got this diagnosis, right? What went through your head? What were your feelings at the time? I mean, you weren't expecting to become or to be diagnosed pre-diabetic. So this was total surprise for you.
Oh yeah, a complete shock, first of all. What went through my head? Well, I think it was a roller coaster of feelings. First and foremost, I felt a lot of fear because I knew very clearly what diabetes looks like from my family history. I thought, oh my God, I'm going to need an insulin pen everywhere I go. No more eating anything that I really like sometimes because it's just not, I can't afford it. And my health is deteriorating. Then I went through like a very confused state as to, well, why medication? Is there another way of doing this? Am I supposed to be doing this? Is the health system supposed to be doing this? And then I did try to reach out to my insurance to try to see if maybe they will cover some type of prevention treatment. I was told that unless I was fully diagnosed, there was really nothing available for me. I just didn't have a plan. So I felt helpless and desperate. And that feeling stayed with me for a little while until I was talking to my husband, and he said, he kind of snapped me out of it. And he said, look, you can do something about it. You don't have to. Please don't feel like you don't have solutions here. And I started just doing a lot of research and trying to understand what was my diagnosis, what I could do. And lo and behold, I was able to find a program that was just being launched as a pilot for people here in America who were identified as pre-diabetic. And it was offered through the YMCA system, which here in America, it's like a community organization that really centers around healthy lifestyle and so forth. And I got really excited, and I called the YMCA local, and they didn't have the program. And so I just kept looking and searching for answers until I found the same program offered on an online platform. And I said, well, this is it. I didn't even think about it. I signed up the second that I got a risk assessment done, and I was in. And it paired me with a life coach and a group of people that were also diagnosed like me and were trying to find solutions for themselves as well. So I think that was the key to a significant change in my life.
That's amazing. Now, do tell me something. You are now in the clear, as far as I understand, right?
Yes, I am in the clear.
Right. How long did it take you to get there? Exactly how long did it take you to get there, and what did you do to get there where you are now?
Mm-hmm. So it took me a little while because the first few months, if you make changes to your eating habits, you'll quickly find out that you're losing weight. And you get really excited about that because you're like, oh my God, I'm shedding all these pounds. But lifestyle change is an ongoing process. And so it took me longer than I expected because you're gonna hit some roadblocks. You're gonna hit some barriers. Making the first changes is somewhat easy. And the program kind of was structured to build quick gains to keep you motivated throughout the process. So, you switch from eating, for example, a high carb bread to something that has more protein and is more wholesome. That's an easy fix, but that takes a little while to adapt, and you'll see some changes in your body. But then it comes down to analyzing what do you have in your pantry, and there's many things that you have in your pantry. Understanding labels, what does it mean to have three or more for ingredients in a box. So all of these things took about a year, I will say, for me to see a significant change. And I noticed it in my clothes. I noticed it in my energy levels. I noticed it in the way that my thinking process went along. Even when I went out to a restaurant or when I was at the supermarket, it was a very conscious decision every time I reached out to an aisle and got something on the cart. It was like, this is a nutrient for me, and how many nutrients does it have? Versus here I'm shopping and I'm putting everything on the box and I'll figure out what to do with it once I'm in the house. But it was planning meals. It was deciding from the beginning to the end how I was going to run through my day. It was understanding my emotions, looking if I was stressed or not stressed, what I was reaching out for. Small things like making sure I had a bottle of water everywhere I went. So all of these changes, I will say a year and plus, and I think I'm still going through many of those changes, because that's why it's called lifestyle. It's a change in how you live versus a change on how you eat or how you exercise or how you sleep. It's a holistic approach to health.
Right. So what new, you mentioned some of the things that you changed, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you're saying, you mentioned lifestyle several times. I want to know, what is a day in life today for you versus before diagnosis?
Mm-hmm. So it's a different day in the sense that I used to wake up late, was late for work all the time. Now I wake up around 5 o'clock in the morning so I can fit up a workout. This went for a little while on a denial phase where I was like, oh, I don't have any time for workout. I'm a very busy mom. I work and I can't. And over time, I just kind of started examining through my work group those kind of defense mechanisms as to why is it that I don't want to do it? Is it that I'm not finding the type of activity? Is it that I think it's very challenging? Whatever the case may be. But I finally said to myself, I'm going to schedule it so that there's no excuses. And I did. And I started basically going at 5 o'clock in the morning to 6. My workout is like my shower. I do it every day. Unless I'm sick, I try to fit it in. I am conscious as to the time that I have my lunch. What am I putting in my body? What am I feeding my family? Very much my refrigerator looks like a grocery store filled with vegetables and fruits. Not too many packaged goods, because it makes it difficult for me to figure out how many ingredients does it have in it. And unless it's something like a grain, like, beans, that I know is coming from the earth, if it has more than 3 or 4 ingredients that I can't pronounce, I just put it away, because I just don't want to utilize it in my kitchen. I have a vegetable garden that we try to crop our own food. I park farther away from my office to try to fit in additional walking steps on a daily basis. I go out to dinner and I try to either share a plate with my mom or with my kids, and look for restaurants that tend to be more of the Mediterranean kind, because I know it's a safer bet in terms of food. So I can get a nice salad and some protein without having to include a lot of fried and high starchy foods. And even my Spanish restaurants that I like, my, sopa de pollo and things like that. I just try to, like, okay, they have a soup section. I'm like, okay, let's go for the soup, because that's probably the better. And I make requests. So I go to a restaurant and I see that they're going to serve amount of rice. And I said, can you replace that for salad? Or can you not give me so much rice? Just give me a spoonful. I don't need, and you make those determinations beforehand, so that once it's served, you don't feel the temptation to eat more than you have to. And I also kind of monitor as to how am I feeling. So am I eating for eating sake, or am I eating because it's a time to eat? Am I hungry? Because sometimes I will just, if I had anxiety, I will reach out for something and I will put it in my mouth. So now if I do feel anxiety, I'm like, okay, where's there a carrot that will entertain me as I'm chewing it? I will get some fiber in my body. I will calm the anxiety, but it's not the cookie, it's not the bread with butter. It's just something. And I also try to limit the amount of hours that I take away from my sleep. So I'm very regular in terms of when I go to bed and when do I wake up. And I try not even through the weekend to make a lot of changes, because I feel like it impacts me. If I stay out too late, the next morning I'm dragging. And so I try to feel like an old lady, but it's for my best health in the sense that I know that it will pay out through the day. And those being sensible with sleep and rest does impact you with energy to be able to work out and do activities and feel like you are motivated to tackle other goals. So it's a lot of things.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, it's lifestyle, right? We're talking lifestyle. We're talking changes in everything.
Mm-hmm.
It's what I believe in, what I also put to practice every day, that you need to eat well, exercise enough, and sleep well. You know, it's that last bit that you mentioned right there. It's actually scientifically proven that you choose the wrong foods when you're tired. You literally you don't choose. Your brain chooses for you. It goes for the cookies. It goes for the high carb, high fat foods, because that's what it recognizes as energy. So we are constantly sabotaging our work on trying to work out and eat healthy when you also not include sleep in. And some people may not be in agreement with what you're doing, but it does your body good. And you are the proof that you can live without insulin. You know, you could have said, hey, you know, this is easy. You know, I have insurance, so I'm just going to let the doctor prescribe me some insulin to regulate my blood sugar level. But you went the way of looking for a permanent change, and that's with your life and with that of your family, because the changes that you inherit are going to be inherited by your family, by your kids. They're watching you. They're mimicking you. You are your kids' first example, your role model, right?
Yes. Oh, yes. And I've seen the difference also in terms of my kids. I mean, I was somewhat vigilant anyway from the beginning of what I put in their mouths, because as a mom, you always take care of your kids more than you take care of yourself. And probably that's the reason why I ended up with prediabetes as well, because I think I was catering more to them and less to me, which is a balance. But now I see it like I'm catering to me and to them. My health, and it's their health, and we should all benefit from this change that I'm making. And in fact, they're consuming a lot more vegetables now. There's a lot of variety of things that they try. And they have acquired a taste for good food. And it's surprising because in some ways my husband says, oh, they're little snobs because of the high quality of food that they expect. But I think it's good because they will go on to adult life knowing what is wholesome food, knowing what it is to eat healthy. And I think that's the biggest legacy that I can leave him. It's establishing good eating habits for life. I grew up in a Spanish family where we ate a lot of rice, and the more rice you ate, 3 meals a day, it was, oh yeah, great. Rice, plenty of rice for everybody. I think that sometimes culture can be incredibly great for understanding as well what is it that we're attached to, right? Is it the rice, or is it the tradition? And I've figured out, okay, we like rice and beans. We think that that's an important food to have. How can I modify it so it's still rice and beans, but not with all the starch, So I do little tricks. Like my husband loves his rice, and I said, one day we went to a restaurant and they gave us a rice and quinoa bowl. And I saw it, and he was eating it. And of course, he had more quinoa than rice. So I said, I'm going to try this at home. And so now I serve him a mixture of quinoa, rice, with
Right.
beans, which reduces the amount of starches, and he's happy and I'm happy and my kids are happy. So we're like, yeah, and you try to annotate which ones are the good wins, right? Which are the things that do work for you, and they're very individualized, depending on your culture, on who you are, and how do you adapt your lifestyle to what works for you. And your taste buds, right? So for other people, it might just be the pasta is the issue. And so how can you make, a dish that tastes like a pasta dish without necessarily having to use the pasta, for example? Or is there another supplement to that pasta you can use? So like I said, it's because it's lifestyle, it's an ongoing, it's like uncovering an ongoing way of being healthy. And every day I learn something new, or at a store and I see somebody, from another ethnicity using some kind of vegetable, and I go in and say, what do you do with that? And they'll tell me, oh yeah, this is good for this. And then I'll try it home. You have to also be open to come out of your comfort zone. And I always, I joke, tell my mom, in Colombia, we use eggplant as a medicinal drink. And we only figured out how to eat eggplant when we came into the United States.
Well,
But we used to boil it and drink it as tea. It was actually disgusting. But you never knew that eggplant could be so yummy, right? But it's just, there's so many things that we're exposed to in terms of vegetables and what we can consume, and it just takes a lot more creativity to be able to say, we can use this in our kitchen and we can adapt it.
Right. It's what I tell my clients. I said, I want to welcome you into the diet of abundance, because there is so much out there and so many great vegetables and things you can do with them that there's no need to feel deprived if you're changing your lifestyle and you're changing your diet. On the opposite, right? You are now welcoming so many other types of food that are great and wholesome and healthy and are going to do your body so good, and that's what it is. You need to be open to all kinds of food and be able to break away from what I call it, break the mold, right? Because I'm also Dominican, so I grew up also with rice and beans, and white rice and the beans, which the beans are great, right? But the white rice, okay? And the white rice doesn't fill you up that much. So you tend to eat more and more and more. So we're talking about how can we change that dish. My kids are growing up now in Germany, and for them it's the German version of crepes. Now we're talking about regular flour again, right? So how do you make that so that it's not just flour, and eggs and whatever?
Right.
And that's what we're talking about when you get actually help and you're open to being helped. You can change all of that and reverse something as deadly as diabetes can be. Yeah.
I think one of the things that I will recommend as advice to anybody that's listening to this and is going through the same process that I went through, or is on the fence about doing this, I will say that, first of all, you have to take the first step. That kind of gets you into the mode. You have to be willing to jump in there and say, I'm willing to make a change. And then just be gentle with yourself. I think sometimes I talk to people who are more overweight and they say, oh, I want to lose this weight and I'm going to lose 10 pounds and I'm going to lose 20 pounds. And this is what I want to do because I want to look great. I don't know if that's the right goal. I think that's setting you up for a little bit of a disappointment. And if you stage it so that you have a win every day, so you make one change that is doable for you on a daily basis, it will replicate and it will multiply by the end of that year. And you won't notice how much of a difference you've made if you approach it from that way. Trying to lose 10 pounds and having that as a goal might not be as realistic. It might be the aftermath, it might be the outcome that naturally happens as a result of all the changes that you're making. But you might want to focus on a daily basis. What can I do today? And sustain on a daily basis, and you adapt changes incrementally.
Right. It's not the fast way to looking good. It's the slow way to feeling good.
Yeah, that's the best way to say it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Kaarin, do you want to share any other tips or insight for us so that we can close this great message that you're leaving us with?
Yes. I think the most important thing to realize is that there's no shame in wanting to make some change. I think I hear sometimes people feel like, oh, this is my third time or my fourth time trying to lose weight, and how did I get here? And sometimes that's important to look as to what happened in the past to get you here, but it's more important to know what you can do today to make the changes and get connected to people and coaches and individuals that are looking to make the changes with you. Sometimes having a support system can make a big difference in how you maintain that motivation. And the diabetes prevention program that I participate now is going nationally, and it's being covered through insurance because it's seeing the impact of having a life coach and a support system around it. And sometimes people try to do this alone and they want to do it in secret, and I don't want anybody to know that I have this. And I've come to the realization that it's better to say, yes, I have this issue, I need some help, and even talk to your family and say, look, we won't want to be healthy, we won't help me to make these changes, help me to maintain this this goal that I'm trying to achieve. And that you will see probably a better, much more gain for what you're trying to achieve, because you feel you're doing it as a team versus on an individual basis.
Yeah. Alone, anything alone can be really daunting, especially such a big challenge as it is trying to change lifestyle, because we are creatures of habit, so we tend to fall back to our old ways. We tend to find the roadblocks and punish ourselves with more bad behavior and more things that can actually prevent us from achieving our goals. So, it's about, like you said earlier, being gentle, also forgiving yourself, and understanding the habits take a little while to form. Just take it easy on yourself. So, Kaarin Varon, thank you so much for sharing your story with us. And I really hope that everyone that listens to this is inspired and understand that changes do not happen overnight. Understand that we all have struggles, that nobody's perfect. Even though it may seem that way when we look at social media, nobody is perfect, and it takes time, it takes dedication, it takes a lot of courage to change your ways. So with that, I leave you today. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope we can deliver to you another story next time.